When one thinks of games that are still active after 10 years, there's one predominant genre that comes to mind: MMOs. MMOs, the likes of which World of Warcraft, RuneScape, and EVE Online have been on the market for 10 years and are still getting stronger with their communities. Various other games may still be played after 10 years, but their communities dwindle into a niche, passionate few. No other genre of game has been successfully able to have an extended journey of content and success quite like World of Warcraft. So what allows MMOs such staying power? A lot of success for a video game goes into the build-up around the release. This is comprised of many things: previous entries in the series, developer interviews detailing various processes of the game's development, raw marketing, and even early reviews, all occurring before a game's release. These can all make or break the long-term success of the game. In our prime example of World of Warcraft, Blizzard already had a solid universe to work off of due to the relative success of the Warcraft RTS series. Trailers for the game showed a groundbreaking, at the time, technical engine capable of transporting fans of the Warcraft series into the universe like never before. Anticipation coupled with favorable reviews upon release led to an incredible launch for World of Warcraft that made it to over 1.5 million players within the first 6 months of release. It would eventually grow all the way to just over 7.5 million before World of Warcraft's first expansion, the Burning Crusade, launched. And we all know the story from there. WoW would eventually peak at around 12 million players, before coming down and rising again in recent years. By this time, a sort of standard began to rise in the gaming industry, and that is DLC. Perhaps the most prime example is Call of Duty, where even though there were yearly installments of the franchise, DLC would be released every few months between releases to keep players constantly playing until the next game came out. This draws parallels to how an MMO may patch their game with content. No game outside of MMOs have come to realize such successful long-term models, but that hasn't stopped developers from trying. Rewind back to the distant year of 2014. Hype is building around Bungie's new project, Destiny. Destiny was an incredible piece of work in terms of hype and appeal. The developers had a very successful track record with the Halo franchise, and people were very hyped to see what these developers could offer with a new IP. Destiny, having boasted an insane budget of $500 million, was on track for a very long-term path for success, considering that development cost was put towards the future of the game as well. Money had been spent on the game and plenty of advertising, so much so that it became the most pre-ordered new IP in the history of the gaming industry. All indicators showed that Destiny would have been a success for years to come. The launch day with Destiny came and went, and Activision was rolling in more money than they knew what to really do with. Destiny received mixed but overall acceptable reviews, and even sparked some minor controversy regarding gaming and addiction, but the initial launch of the game could be considered a success. Many players enjoyed the content of Destiny and continued to do so as the game launched expansions much like an MMO would, but the game would suffer from an overall reducing player base as time went on. Bungie would only release overall registered accounts, noting here that if you played the game once, you had an account. As of the end of 2015, Destiny had 25 million accounts registered, but only a fraction of those were still actively playing the game by the time Destiny 2 got announced. For a game that had a lot of money invested in the long-term success of it, 3 years seems like a small shelf life. Perhaps Destiny 2 will be able to keep players enticed for say 5 years, but to this day, no other non-MMO game has been capable of keeping players enticed for the long haul. Many could argue that the reason why no other genre has been capable of supplying content over time is due to lack of subscription costs. The $15 a month standard subscription for MMOs really adds up over the time and spread across millions of players, and the constant stream of money allows the developers to consistently develop free updates for the game. Destiny never had a subscription model. The cost of actively developing the game was attempting to be offset by more frequent and tinier DLC launches. This is not to say that Destiny ran out of money, but the cost of the game weren't being made up due to less people buying the content. A non-subscription model appears to not work for games that attempt to have longevity. An outlier in this case needs to be pointed out. Ubisoft's Rainbow Six Siege appears to be attempting a longevity model, by having players essentially purchase the game again every year in the form of a season pass to keep being supplied with maps and characters. So far, Rainbow Six will complete a successful second year of this model by the end of 2017. And as Ubisoft has stated they have a long-term plan for Rainbow Six Siege, time will tell if this method will be successful for the game's future. Not just any game can have longevity. Even if the development costs ongoing are paid for successfully, the game still needs to have a passionate and ever-growing community of players to actively keep the game alive and enjoyable. Realistically, very few games have been capable of this, regardless of genre, and although several have tried and several more will try, I'm looking at you, Anthem and Destiny 2, the precedence goes against any other genre having continued success in the long run.